in 3, 2, 1. All right, this is John Singh. This is Eric Bernsen. This is Saturday, November 3rd, and we're going to be discussing some of the issues that have been going on. So the first thing I had is to say that all these people are celebrating in the streets, Eric, that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have won, and they're prancing around, claiming victory, and all in the midst of a legal battle. Even Fox News is sold out to the Chinese Communist Party and saying they won and declaring them the next presidential elect. How does that make you feel?
So just to clarify what John said in the very beginning, today is actually November 7th, Saturday. He said November 3rd. So just to clarify the date, you know what? It makes me feel, it's to be expected, John. I don't get. See, the thing is I don't get emotional. I don't get wrapped up emotionally. How liberal-minded people tend to do. They tend to get emotionally involved in stuff like this. But for me specifically, I look at the facts, John. I'm just here to observe and wait. And they're going to do whatever they want. They're always going to do the exact opposite of whatever Trump does. Everybody kind of knew that they were going to declare the winner prematurely. And so they have, but it doesn't have any weight or value because it's not determined. And the proceedings, the judicial proceedings and the voter fraud allegations have not been finalized. They're in progress. And so anything that's happening right now, just remember, guys, that social media and the news stations do not dictate the winner of the presidency, okay? That has nothing to do with the winner of the presidency. The winner of the presidency comes down to the Supreme Court. It comes down to the rulings. It's whatever the law says. And so we're just waiting, we're here and we're waiting for these court proceedings. And as a Republican and as a conservative, we have to be patient, we got to be patient.
You have to ask the question, why, if there's legal proceedings happening and under scrutiny, and there's big issues that are awaiting litigation, ballot fraud, all these things that with the machines not working, or the Sharpies in Arizona, and all these key states, and they're so close, razor thin, and there's so many legal cases awaiting. Why then is the mainstream media and the liberals and social media and big tech all declaring victory? What's the purpose of that? I mean, you have to ask that question.
Well, if you really think about it, John, the purpose behind that is it's just their agenda. It's their they have a goal behind this, John. The goal. So I'm gonna let you guys all know a little something here, and please pay attention because this is important. The reason that the Democrats and and media and big tech companies are following through with this narrative that Joe Biden is the winner is because this simply, when these issues of voter fraud and these allegations, when the evidence comes out and they deem and they find voter fraud and they start making reversals and changing the state's votes and swaying the election in a different way because they're weeding out voter fraud, what's going to happen is the Democrats, if Trump ends up winning because of these allegations and it proves to be true and the voter fraud is real, if Trump ends up reversing this and winning, the reason why the Democrats are prematurely doing this is because their goal is to come out and say that Donald Trump stole the election. That is exactly why.
Oh, yeah, that right there. You hit the nail on the head.
Absolutely.
They're going to claim fraud themselves.
Just remember, guys, everybody has a tactic, okay? Everybody has an agenda. Everybody knows, come on, everybody knows what they're doing. Each party has a tactic. They have an idea and a narrative, and they're all playing along by it. And that's exactly what's going on the Republican side too. Donald Trump, he knew that this was going to happen.
They knew like
his
2 years in advance this was going to happen.
2 years in advance,
They were
correct.
planning this. They knew that they were going to. He called that there was going to be thousands of ballots dropped off in the middle of the night. Why would he
That's right.
say something like that?
And he's been saying this for so long, and why would he say something like that? Because if he's predicting things like this, then there is always a reason behind these things. And I think what the most important thing, non-political, nonpartisan, is, John, is that it really just comes down to the issue of transparency.
Mm-hmm.
And when there is no transparency, this doesn't become a political, partisan argument. This really just comes down to what is fair, what is just, what is right, and what is moral. And that's what it's coming down to. So I want people to understand that not all of this is necessarily fully political. When it gets to the Supreme Court and when judges are making rulings on voter fraud, it doesn't have to do with your political beliefs, what party you choose to identify with. This comes down to what is right, what is just,
That's an
what is
attack on
moral.
democracy.
It is democracy. And guys, this is uprooting and destroying our democracy. If we allow these types of things to happen, voter fraud, then what we're basically doing is undermining the integrity of our entire voting system, which undermines the integrity of our country, which undermines the integrity of our democracy. And so it's much deeper than just.
If you think about it, that's what the goal and agenda is. If you undermine our democracy, then our nation is not a free nation,
Correct.
like we claim it is. And
Correct.
what is good about our nation? So we might as well just tear down our nation and rebuild and start over, and into a communist socialist country. And that's kind of what the agenda is like, it only benefits Democrats if they're winning. Then they
Correct.
say, oh yeah, this system is great. Okay, it's great, it's working, let it play out. But when it's against them, when Trump won in 2016, they said it was a fraud. There was foreign interference. There was the Russian collusion, the Mueller report. For 4 years, they were on Trump trying to impeach.
Oh yeah, throwing just a bunch of garbage at him all the time, and there's so much stuff that was, that was found to be untrue. There's just a lot of misinformation and narratives that the media spreads that are lies, and it's not true. And it's important to wait for the facts, guys. We need to be smart. We need to be educated. Let's dig into the facts. Let's get good reporting, good sources, good, fair, and honest news. And let's do our research, guys, because you got to do your research, period.
Yeah. Eric, there was one thing that was actually true that you said. You said it wasn't true. Well, the truth was they were accusing Trump of this Russian collusion, Ukrainian scandal.
Correct.
And
that
actually,
is true.
there is truth to some of that. And the truth is that Hunter Biden and the Bidens were in bed with Chinese energy companies, and was proven by all the documents that were sequestered from Hunter's laptop. And it was proven through Tony Bob Stilinski's interview, who is a U.S. military vet. And why would he have any other reason to go on TV and bash the Bidens? And the only reason he went on there was because they were calling it the Russian disinformation. They were calling his integrity Russian disinformation. When he sat down twice with Joe Biden, and Joe Biden says, "Hey, help me with these dealings in China to make extra money, selling out the United States to China." And so they're like, what better way to spin this than to blame Trump and try to impeach him with something that we're actually doing?
Correct. Yeah. And, I want to challenge you guys. If you guys are interested, there is a website that you can go to. It's called DuckDuckGo, and you can search in gtv.org. Okay. And in gtv.org, that is sort of a similar website to YouTube, but it's Chinese. And you can find the Hunter Biden sex tapes, and you can go through and view a lot of different videos that show proof of Hunter Biden just conducting himself in a manner that is not appropriate, and it's not acceptable for a family that's going to run the country. Come on, guys.
And using taxpayer dollars to spend and fund all his extravaganzas, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Wasting taxpayer dollars to fund his luxurious lifestyle, whatever he thinks it is, whatever he's enjoying. And it's unfair, and it's just the mannerisms and behaviors are just absolutely, they are just, they're not okay, to say the least. And this is going to be the son of the president. Like, we're going to have this family running our country. It's just unacceptable, guys. We just do your research, and please check that out if you're interested. That way you guys get a little more information on, Hunter Biden. But
If you think about it, Eric, it's actually an attack on morality. You see,
absolutely.
if the bedrock of our country was built on Judeo-Christianity principles, now you have, gay women getting married in the place where Joe Biden's going to have his speech tonight. They're setting a wedding. They're celebrating, roasting Trump, burning him. I mean, and they're just celebrating this immorality. Like, we can steal money, we can lie, we can cheat and get away with it, and pat on my back for that.
Correct.
I mean, how is that good for our country? And
it's not.
What's the future of our country if Biden is being used by a puppet and Kamala Harris is going to come up and sweep in and take it? And where are we going to go from here? I guess the good news is, there's a couple good news that I watched Laura Ingraham last night, and she said that this MAGA movement has started. And whether you like Trump or not, he made a movement in history. He made a big impact, and these people, these 70 plus million voters that supported him, despite big tech trying to influence election, trying to brainwash, trying to silence, trying to just trash these people and put them in a box and say you can't be a Trump supporter. Despite all that, he had 70 plus million people voting for him.
Despite the mass manipulation. I love it, John. That is so true. If it doesn't matter who you are, you have to respect the numbers, man, and the legal votes and the non-fraudulent votes that he has produced, despite mass media, big tech manipulating, social media manipulating, news stations manipulating people's minds, and only saying negative things about Donald Trump. Guys, there's something wrong when a party is always bashing and saying negative things about someone else. Be wary when you hear someone consistently demean and say negative things, because that is definitely something to look out for. That is an issue. And guys, I want to say too that, I want you guys to understand that regardless of party, in a free and fair election, and even Donald Trump has said this, in a free and fair election, if Joe Biden for some reason were to win and all the votes were counted and they were legal votes, then it is acceptable. That is an acceptable process. Then wonderful to him. Congratulations to him. He won, and that's good for him. And it's just interesting how the narrative is never the same with Trump. If you were to flip and reverse this situation, Democrats would just be so
burning the streets.
They would be destroying the streets, destroying the cities, violence unlike you've ever seen. Rioting, looting would start again, and it would just be the worst thing you've seen.
But it was interesting to point out there, Eric, why were the Democrats so quiet during the election? Did you notice that? They weren't saying a lot. It was almost like a calm before the storm. They knew what was happening. They planned this out. And what they keep saying is that, we campaigned harder. We went and to the right seat. It's not true. Joe Biden was like 15 campaigns and nobody there in car rallies.
Yeah, you guys can look it up, man. It's all over. You guys can see it everywhere. Joe Biden's campaign rallies, very, very few people. Unlike Trump's, the energy levels were low. Donald Trump's energy is high. You can tell that people are just rejuvenated by the energy that Donald Trump brings. And you just know that Donald Trump just had a movement going unlike you've ever seen. And
it's about loving America.
That's right.
We love America. We care about
it's rejuvenating, and it's bringing back patriotism, guys. It's bringing back the love of a country. It's bringing back that patriotism, as I just reiterated. It is, guys, we got to fight for this country first and foremost, and especially because all of the world and all the different countries look up to the United States, and they sort of see us as a governance. and how we operate is very important to the rest of the world. So
what do you think about these ballots that were counted, right?
okay.
And they were counted afterwards. So the judge issued a sequester to put all the ballots that were counted after November 3rd at 8 p.m. They sequestered those ballots and put them in a separate box.
Good.
So that's in Pennsylvania, where there's 20 electoral votes.
Absolutely.
That make a big difference.
Yeah, and that's I think that's a great idea, because what that does is that allows to see, when you separate these votes, you're allowed to see if it sways the election or manipulates the election to one or more directions. And it's important to see that. It's important to see what mail-in voting does. We need the results. We need the facts. We need to see with our own eyes what mail-in voting, what that does, and how harmful it is. And and when they look through it too, there's going to be tons of fraudulent. So they'll see that, and they'll see how it does sway the election and how it changes it.
Kind of comical how they keep saying, "Oh, there's no fraud in the system. They're trust in democracy, trust them. There's no fraudulent activity." Well, if there was no fraudulent activity, then let the freaking Republicans watch.
Correct.
Or independent people.
How about let anybody watch?
Let anybody
nonpartisan, like anybody, and anybody is allowed to watch. If you are not allowed to watch, there is no law stating that you cannot watch ballot counting from at least a 6-foot distance. Guys, I get we're in COVID, we have a 6-foot rule, but this whole allegation of making people stand 25 feet away, boarding up windows, is unacceptable. Everybody is allowed to
threatening the people that actually want in.
Correct.
Right?
And if you're threatening people and you're boarding up windows, you are creating the idea in people's minds that there is something fraudulent going on.
Yes.
It is just, it's shady, and it's not acceptable.
It's not transparent.
It's not, and that's the key word today, John. That's what we come down to, is transparency. That is the key word today.
Yeah. So like, if you think about it, I made this point to you earlier that in the NFL, in the NBA, any professional sports organizations, even in college, they have what happens when there's a call that's questionable by the referee. They say, "Oh, touchdown, he made it in," and then the other team says, "No, I don't think he got 2 feet in." So what do? They go back to the headset, the video, they rewind it, they get the call right.
Correct.
It's the, what do they call, the instant replay or whatever.
Instant replay, and sometimes there's reversals, right? Sometimes there's reversals.
Call. And so people are all celebrating, and then it gets called back. So that's
right.
What's happening right now is they're celebrating, right. and it's just a little bit longer of a process in the court system, but it may get called back, it may not. But there were a lot of votes that were mail-in ballots, and like I said, there was the ones in Arizona that were marked with a Sharpie, and there were votes that didn't get counted, and then they didn't get a new ballot. They got denied. Right. So that's and
there was even some allegations of overseas ballots coming from military personnel that didn't get received. So just gotta, everything has to be investigated for a free and fair election. The facts will speak for themselves. We will come to find, with patience, we will come to find what is just, what is true, what is fair, and we will come to know specifically how many votes were fraud. And guys, if you do your homework and you pay attention to history repeats itself. History is important, because if you look back at the 2000 election with Al Gore and Bush, you see key similarities from that election and this election. There's very similar circumstances happening here. And remember, guys, Al Gore had quote unquote won the election. Media had announced him as the winner, but that was reversed. And that's because they found fraudulent votes. Guys, this is not unprecedented. This is something that is very real and very, very likely and possible. And so it's important to stay patient.
Even back then, they were more transparent. They let you see video footage of the ballots, right? So the Democrats weren't as radical as they are now. So I wouldn't even call them liberals. They're more authoritarian. Okay, say that word.
Authoritarians.
Right? Because
authoritarians, yeah.
What's going to happen, Eric, to the people AOC says, oh, there needs to be some Trump re-education camps. Trump voters, people who support Trump or who worked for him, they need to be re-educated. I mean, that just like reeks of.
I don't appreciate the labeling. It's unnecessary, and it's biased. It's just biased. It's unnecessary. It's biased, and it doesn't have validity. And yeah, and that's the thing, guys, is that like it's important not to get wrapped up in the emotional side of things. Like, let's stick to the facts. Let's stick with what's transparent. Let's make sure that we are slow to judgment and be patient and wait these things out and see how things play out.
Yeah, the
It's
other point
important.
I wanted to make was that the legislative branch, so you have the House of Representatives and the Senate, though the Democrats lost quite a few key positions, they had like
Correct.
232. Now the Republicans are up in the 200s. I think they're like 7 votes away from matching it, tying up the
Correct.
race in the House of Representatives, and it looks like the Senate's going to go to the Republicans again. So even if Joe Biden does win, he's not going to have an easy road ahead of him trying to pass his legislation.
Correct.
You're going to have major roadblocks, and Nancy Pelosi's going to have to step down a little bit with all of her
Right.
rhetoric. And
She's getting a lot of backlash right now, so we'll see what happens there. Because she just with the stimulus package negotiations and deals, it's quite apparent that she's making it all political. It's not for the people, guys. It's her battling with Trump, and it's their little battle. It has nothing to do with us, guys. This isn't about us. This isn't for us. These negotiations from her are not about us. There's no fairness. There's no discussion. There is no seeing eye to eye. It's just not.
why do you think, Eric? Why do you think they want to have so much money give to the people in stimulus checks? And why do you think they want to
Power.
suppress the economy so much and say, oh, here's free money, just keep not working and keep sucking up the government. We'll just keep
It's
sending you
power,
checks.
guys.
Why did they do that?
It's power. And the reason they do that is because, John, is because their goal, what they tend to do, what liberals and Democrats tend to do, is they tend to buy votes, guys. That's why they use the welfare system. That's why they want to hand out tons of money, is because they're buying your votes. Guys, listen, you don't see Republicans doing that. You don't see Republican presidents, Republican legislators, senators doing anything like that. Republicans earn their votes. Democrats buy votes. So
Yeah, so in the overrun Democrat cities, they always vote Democrat because they believe that they're going to get free things, and
correct.
nothing's free. Nothing's free.
Nothing's free in this life.
And I will say one last thing, though, that on a positive note, Trump has surpassed all the GOP previous candidates in the Latino vote and the Black vote. People of color are now voting for Trump. I mean, and that's an incredible thing. He made history there. And you ask
True.
why 51% of the Cubans vote for Trump. Why do they want to vote for this man who supposedly is the most hated man on the planet?
It's a good question, John. Speaks for itself, doesn't it?
Yep.
Speaks for itself. I mean, numbers don't lie, facts don't lie. And if Donald Trump is doing better than he did in 2016, that's because he's doing a good job, and people are seeing that. And people are seeing, that he is. I know this may sound controversial, but he is not dividing the country when it comes to race. Guys, just remember the theory of projection. Whenever liberals keep pushing race this, race that, race this, race that, it's because they are projecting onto you. And the issue here, guys, is that the ones that are truly being racist, the ones that are truly dividing the country, are the ones who keep talking about it all the time, and the ones who keep pushing that narrative. Have you guys not seen that yet? It's important to pay attention, guys.
Look, right here in California, they were trying to push Prop 16, which reversed a ban on affirmative action. So they had a ban on affirmative action where where people could they weren't allowing them to go to college based on the color of their skin. They're basically saying, "Oh, you're black, you're Hispanic, you get a free pass to college because you're black or Hispanic based on the color of
Yeah,
your skin, not based on your merit or achievement." And
correct.
ultimately, what that does is that hurts the black and the people of color. That hurts them more than having them earn it, because it's like saying, "Oh, you really didn't deserve this. You just got in because your color of
And
your
it's
skin."
degrading, man. And it's degrading and it's demoralizing towards those communities because exactly like along the lines of what you're saying, John, is then you're basically looking at somebody being disproportionately under underqualified is not the word, but disproportionately underprivileged, I guess, based upon the color of skin. That is not how this world works. People grow up in environments, and some people have less privilege than others due to environment and other factors. But guys, don't make it about the color of your skin. Make it about your opportunity. Everybody has the same opportunity in this country. And that's the most important part, guys, is you can go out and you can change your life and your environment, and you can go and do things that you want to do. And that's why it's important, because we are free. We live in a free country and we have the freedom to make our own choices and own decisions. And it's not good to continually say that the color of your skin is a factor in being unproportionately underprivileged.
Well, it's funny because people might look at you and myself and say, "Oh, those are two white guys, so they're just talking from white privilege." When in fact, I'm part Hispanic and Indian. I know you're multiracial. You have some other things in you, and we both came from very disadvantaged backgrounds. I
Correct.
can share for myself. I came from a single mother of 4 kids and who worked a minimum wage job and didn't have a father because he was killed. But the thing of it is that you find ways. You go out there and hustle. You go out
Correct.
there and make it happen, and then you don't. I mean, if somebody wants to give you a handout, sure, but it should be more of a hand up than a handout.
Absolutely. The idea of handouts was created to get people back on their feet, get them integrated back into society, get them working, get them, sustainable, just enough, right? Just enough, minimum wage, just enough to get back on your feet, to survive, to allow yourself to move forward. And that's what the system was created for. Minimum wage, welfare were created to make sure that people don't lose their entire livelihoods, don't go homeless. And and you're absolutely right, John. Coming from my situation too, speaking for myself, I'm adopted, and I should not be alive today. My mother was 16 years old when she had me, and she was, considering and looking at having an abortion, and she was in high school, and she got pregnant on prom night, and so I'm just, another person who wasn't supposed to be born. It just, things happened, and that's the way life goes. Suck it up and you know get over it and move on, and just
Or the worst thought,
you know
Eric. I mean, what if, and this goes along the lines of abortion? What if the parents decided to abort you? You wouldn't have had this amazing life that you have now.
that's right.
Uh, and that's horrible. All these kids that are babies that are being just robbed of life.
Absolutely.
But that's a whole other different thing. We have
Different
about a
topic.
minute left, Eric. I want to kind of wrap up, but uh, I want to throw a little sarcasm in there. Um, People who all these 70 plus million voters of Trump, we all must be stupid. We all must be minions of Trump, right? We all must be just brainwashed by Trump, just like Hitler. We can't think for ourselves. So what do you say to all that?
I just, once again, I think you just have to be educated. You have to think for yourself. You have to research for yourself, and it's not, and that's just what that's doing is just overgeneralizing. Okay, when you do that and you put everybody into a category, it's the same thing as race, guys. It's just overgeneralizing communities and people. Everybody has their own individual ideas and mindset. Everybody is entitled to their own way of thinking, their own opinions, and it's not, it's not the way that you should never be overgeneralizing people and putting them into categories and labeling them. That's just not what we want to do. And guys, I just, for myself, I want to
Based
just,
on who they voted for president.
based on who they voted for president, and that just comes down to what they believe is best for them, guys. Everybody is voting on what they believe is best for them. And so I want to just reiterate as my final statement here is I just want you guys to remember, regardless of political affiliation, regardless of party, nonpartisan, we need to just be aware and be transparent. We need to see transparency. We need to wait and see how these things play out. And if Joe Biden, I will reiterate this and say this again, if Joe Biden wins in a free and fair election, good job. You're the winner. I'm happy for you, and you did it fair. And all the people who voted for him, I'm happy for you guys. The person that you believe is best for you won the election. And same thing for Trump. If Trump wins and they turn it over and they find the allegations of voter fraud to be true and it reverses, guys, you guys have to understand that what's fair is fair and what's just and moral and right is the only way. And so God bless to everybody, and let's just wait these things out and see what happens.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you for your time. And,
Thanks, John.
and for all you guys voters out there, just keep your heads up, man. Keep encouraged.
That's right. Stay positive, guys.
Yep.